Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming this morning. I'll try not to disappoint. Okay. So what's this thing about social currency? In this line, in the age of social, there's a lot of buzzwords that's going around. But one buzzword that is becoming more of a reality these days is social currency. In China, most of the campaigns revolve around creating social currency around brands, around products. And the way to do it is to do it without freebies, is to do it without incentives. It's about causing real change. And this change comes from mostly design. Okay, actually my first slide, I'll just quickly say, talks about why we need 6.9 million people in 2030. Okay. Is it because we are too picky about jobs? Is it because we are too talentless? Or is it just because we are a faceless number to our government? Well, I think the answer sort of sit in between. One thing that I want to say, later I'll show you through the slides, is that Singaporean workers are indeed expensive. Compared to Thailand, one Singaporean worker costs as much as 8 Thai workers on average. And this problem is compounded by the view that we have of ourselves. Since the year 2001, there has been this agreement done through polling on Straits Times that there is a culture of being mediocre when it comes to being a Singaporean. How many times have you heard your friends telling you, hey, don't spoil market. Just do what everyone else is doing. Just keep your head low. And for me, I never understood where that sentiment came from. It's like going to the gay bar taboo, and my gay friends telling me not to stick my butt out. If I'm going to a gay bar with my gay friends, I'm going there to get laid. I definitely will stick my butt out. So the thing is, the culture here seems to actually want us not to stand out, to be part of a group. And to the government, it makes us look like a bunch of sheep. We will go in one direction, we'll follow what everyone else is doing. And for them, we will never be good enough for the higher level position. And we'll never be cheap enough for the lower wage positions. And this is probably why we really need to think about creating currency about ourselves. Not just for Singaporeans, but for anyone sitting here. It's because if we don't, someone else will assign a value to us, and chances are it will not be the type of value that we want to give to ourselves. Just a very quick look. In Asia, one Singaporean worker costs that much. And in terms of value for money, we aren't really that much value. This was a poll done by Straits Times in 2001. This was something that INSEAD, the French business school in Singapore, also brought up. That Singapore, there's a culture of mediocrity. The key thing is to do what everyone else is doing, keep your head low, and go with the flow. So this is the challenge for all of us to here today. We are not good enough. We are not cheap enough. And that's why I think the government thinks we need more foreign talent and labor. But the problem with this thinking is it's supply side. People who only think in terms of costs, things like CEO. How do I bring immediate value to a company? The day, the month I become CEO of a company, I just need to fire 50% of the staff and assign all the work to the remaining 50%. And I will have a spike in stock from the investors because I'm actually getting more work done with less labor. This type of supply side type of thinking ignores the value-driven demand side approach. And this is something that I think all of us, we really need to think about, because why should we compete with the likes of Walmart or China on cost factors? And even Walmart is not doing very well this year. And this is the key point, why we have to start changing the value, the currency, that is being assigned to us. Because contrary to what has been said, it's not about survival of the fittest. Charles Darwin was always talking about the survival of those who are most responsive to change. And I bring out two countries that has been about changing themselves through design. One is Thailand. Since 2007, Thailand has been re-engineering itself. And what it does is, it's not just doing what it has been good at, it's trying to use the distinctive characteristics, flair, and sense of aesthetics that these people have to value add whatever it's doing. And this is something that's making Bangkok a fashion city right now. When it comes to New Zealand has this national strategy called Better by Design. What it does is that they engage the best CEOs, working with the best creative minds, to use design to revamp their business process, their services, their products in a way that can better meet the challenges of today. If I could play the video, I could show you something that Air New Zealand has done. Air New Zealand is my favorite company in New Zealand, probably because of the CEO, Rob Pfeiffer, who's stepping down this year after being the CEO since 2005. He best embodied this better by design type of thinking by bringing out what New Zealand does, the distinctive flavor of New Zealand, to create an experience around its product and brand like none other. So I'm sure that some of you, or most of you, have seen the recent Middle-earth safety video done by Air New Zealand. It is one safety video out of many in which different culture from New Zealand is being embedded in this safety video. For example, Australia's All Blacks rugby team used to feature in the safety video, and even a fitness video was done using a safety video. All of it was meant to bring out the New Zealand type of life. And this is something that New Zealand is doing very, very well. So what are we trying to do here? Why designing our social currency in the age of social is so important for each and every one of us? It's all about creating space, creating market, creating demand for what we do, what we believe in. And this is something that I hope that our government in Singapore will soon realize. Okay, I'm going to talk a bit on emotion design, why it works very well in the social era, and how it creates social value around brands and people. A very simple statement. Brands and people need to stand for something, or they mean nothing online. The reason why a lot of efforts in social media has come to waste, be it around personal brands or products and services, is because they're still done in a 3-month, 6-month campaign type of thinking. But the thing is, the social era is not about advertising. It's about letting people know what you stand for. Why this social media revolution is so important is because it's the second most important publishing revolution in the history of mankind. The first one was during the Renaissance, where the invention of the printing press gave the common access to books. And with social media, each of us, we have access to a voice on a free platform of our choosing. But with this free platform comes a responsibility of letting people know what you stand for, so they can decide whether they can stand with you or against you. This thinking is becoming part of product design as well. A lot of us had a lot of brands and products, they have done way too much advertising through traditional channels. Anything that can be said has been said about the brand. And for them to move on in the social era, to create viral movements, or to create long-term sustainable social currency around their brands, they have to create some form of social emotional relevance. I just want to bring the quick example of Red Bull Stratos. The key thing is about this example is the whole world is watching. Most of us will see that Red Bull is very much a fringe product, driven by maybe party people or people who are into sports. But with this particular activity, everyone was watching it, from the White House, from the Vatican, people you don't normally associate with Red Bull. This is how well Red Bull is creating social currency in the age of social through its form of content. And this is one thing Red Bull is probably the best at in the world today. Another example is Earth Hour. Earth Hour started as advertising campaign, but it has become an organic movement that crisscross all over the world. And it starts out because it's become a very simple expression of what we want, what we feel towards the planet, and and this is probably one of the few times that we feel that each of us have a chance to do something that matters. Okay, in China, we don't do social media campaigns. We do this thing called social movements. And it's all about creating emotional currency around brands, around the target audience, and around products. I'll just give a quick example on Canon. Canon is becoming one of the most entrenched imaging brand in China. One key reason is this intangible cultural heritage protection project. China, in its rush towards industrialization, are fast losing a lot of cultural, national, historical heritage. One good example is the Silk Route. They are going to take down the frontier towns surrounding the Silk Route very soon. So if you all want to check out the Silk Route, please do it as soon as possible. But this is not just an isolated case. This is happening all over China. So Canon is sponsoring this movement where any person who uses a Canon camera are actually invited, encouraged to take pictures of scenes in China that may soon be gone forever. And this is becoming part of a government campaign as well as a national outreach movement. And this is something Canon has done very, very well for years already. This is China's Effie winning entry for last year. My agency was doing the PR side of things. And what we did was what we wanted to do was create some relevance in the social era where Johnson Baby Products is concerned. So what we want to do is, to create that relevance, we have to show that we understand the emotional side of our target audience. So for this particular approach, what we wanted to do is to create a new mom type of thinking. And this new mom of thinking actually starts out by focusing on working mothers in one area where no other brand has done it before while they are working. So what happens was, this started with a simple direct mailer, which is fronted by a video, which is showcased on Taobao, China's form of eBay, as a way of doing a Mother's Day dedication to working mothers, especially mothers who have to squeeze their breast milk during working time. The video shows a very emotive side of the plight that they have to go through, the lack of privacy in the office space, and how Johnson & Johnson comes right in with this very simple mailer that allows people, such moms, to actually use this direct mailer to create their own temporary nursing area, allow people to share their support for the movement, and allow other mothers to actually include their knowledge of any possible nursing areas around their workplace for the benefit of all working mothers. And this was a very successful campaign in China. This other campaign was for Volvo Construction Equipment. It's a B2B brand, possibly the hardest and most difficult to do for social media. So what we did was we told the client that you have to look at your target audience, because companies don't buy products, people do. And the people who will be using the products of Volvo Construction Equipment were basically operators. They were consumers, they play games, they go online. And we wanted to help the brand reconnect with them in a way that benefits the business. So what we did was we created this it's like operator challenge. But what we wanted to do was to allow them to showcase, test themselves against a series of challenges using Volvo Construction Equipment's forklift, like picking up golf balls, stacking up wine glasses, while doing it using the least fuel output. This was a campaign. This was by far China's most successful B2B campaign, and the client is going to do it for 3 years. All because we allow these operators to showcase what they're good at. Even though it's a blue-collar job, they take pride in it, and the people who really excel in it in ways that no one else can ever believe. So the key thing about these social movements is that it's all about reconnecting people with brands or people with people. But to do that, we have to come up with thinking, a thought process that actually can support this type of thinking. One particular thought leader that has always inspired me is Simon Sinek. You can just do Google for his talk on how great leaders inspire action. There are 2 videos that I wish I can play. But the thing is, let me see if I can. Do you think I can try? No. Okay. Okay. Okay, Simon Sinek is all about talking about not telling people what you do, not telling people what you do differently. It's telling why you are doing it. And this is something that is it's a very interesting thing that is doing wonders for the likes of Apple. I think a lot of people knows that Apple is all about thinking differently, but the way it cascades it to its product, like its iPad, its MacBooks, is creating new type of experiences based on this basic belief. And this is a thinking that we have to start promoting within ourselves, because if we don't do anything differently, no one's going to notice us, no one's going to write about us, no one's going to support us online. And why this type of thinking works, I'll just give a very quick example. When Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, ask anyone working at NASA, and they will only give you this statement if you ask them what do they do. Everyone from toilet cleaner to the caterer will say that they helped put a man on the moon. For Coast Guard, so others may live. This type of thinking is actually creating a lot of social currency around brands, services, jobs that seldom has such relevance before the social era. And even at the most tactical level, it still works. This was a recent study done on Apple geniuses doing a face-off with Tiffany sales. In terms of retail sales, Apple and Tiffany is by far the leader in US, but I want you all to focus on how much revenue one Apple genius creates, almost double that of Tiffany sales, compared to the base pay. Apple genius does almost twice the sales volume with much less pay compared to Tiffany sales. So what's the magic here? Same thing, Apple, besides using emotion design around its products, it also uses it around its jobs or the things that its people need to do. So what it focused on was on ennobling the jobs of Apple geniuses. They are more than just IT people. They are more than just support staff. They are all about people who help make life easier for those who use Apple. And this ennobling approach does a very good job of creating social currency around the job of an Apple genius. So you go to US right now, being an Apple genius is actually it's actually quite an interesting job for most people to consider. Okay. Even for individuals, emotion design is a very, very good approach. This is a Canadian musician. He was on United Airlines who accidentally broke his guitar. So to get back at them, he created this video called United Break Guitar. Before Gangnam Style, this video really got a lot of views. And it created a career for him as a spokesman against big corporations, as well as a branded content creators for things that people feel strongly about. Okay, this was something that I did for an individual in Shanghai. I'll try playing the video after finishing the deck. This guy wanted to do something special for his girlfriend. He's an industrial artist. He has done some very nice work in the past. He has done this remarkably a giant heart-shaped sand sculpture for his girlfriend 2-3 years ago. But because his girlfriend is moving out of his place, he wanted to do something special for her. So he said on Weibo, which is China's version of Twitter, that he wanted to create a masterpiece of love for her. And when I come across his profile, because I was doing something for Dove Chocolates, a chocolate brand popular in China, And his story sort of like touched me. So I've invited him to the agency and told him that if he's serious about creating this art piece of love, my client, I'll find a way to convince my client to sponsor the creation of this art piece as long as he finds some way to use the heart-shaped containers that my client is known for. So what happened was a very interesting love story that went viral in the 3 weeks before Chinese Valentine's Day on 6 August 2011. And people started following him on his Weibo page as he kept uploading designs of what he wanted to do for his girlfriend, allow people to interact with him on what he wanted to do, and he created a lot of making of videos, clips to engage people, to let them live through his eyes. And this was a very interesting campaign that my client was happy to sponsor because it was one of the biggest viral hit in China 2 years ago. And all this was done without paid media. Okay, I'll try to play the video after this. Okay, the key thing that I want to tell you all is to do a few things that Singaporeans normally don't do. I need you all to stop being humble. I need you all to basically tell the world, showcase to the world what you believe in, what you do best. Sell with emotion what you are, what you excel, and even what you suck at. The key thing is that doing this will help bring people together if they share your emotions or belief. And they will even bring them even closer if they feel their strengths complement your weakness. Because when it comes to social currency, it's not just a one-man play. People have to identify with it. People have to support it. And collaboration is a key part of creating this social currency. Okay, let me see if I can play some videos now.
Once, China had a day for lovers. But over time, this special day was overlooked by young lovers. This was not good for the sale of chocolate. To rekindle the romance, we decided to create a love story online. A story with the biggest tribute to love. To inspire lovers to act. With a story that is real. Introducing Ma Jin, an installation artist and a man in love.
嗨，大家好，我是马进。我最近呢，想要做一个作品，就是这样一个南瓜马车啊，它是一个心形的，上面有很多很多的这样的小的心形铁盒组成的，就是这样的铁盒。那么这个礼物呢，是为了送给我相爱4年的女朋友的。靠我一个人的力量是没有办法完成收集到这么多的心形铁盒的啊。那么如果你家里有类似这样的闲置的心形铁盒的话，那么恳请你帮个忙，把它寄给我，让我们共同完成这个作品。谢谢。
This story of love is posted on his microblog with constant update on the progress. His mission struck a chord with the public. They lived his labor of love. And approached him with the contributions. They became so involved, they actually helped to encourage Dove to be the official sponsor. The big day came, and Ma Jin's girlfriend had more than a share of surprises. The response? Overwhelming. The story ended happily ever after, with a fairy tale ending for all.
I think it's good that we came across him because at that time, we wanted to do something interesting for Dove Chocolates during the Valentine's Day. But because Dove Chocolates didn't do anything for Chinese Valentine's Day before, there was no indication that it would be a successful attempt using social media. So the key thing was this guy wanted to do something special. It's in line with what people or lovers online were looking for in the weeks before Chinese Valentine's Day. So we decided to collaborate with him to create a social currency around my client's brand and product. But the key thing that you all should take note is that collaboration is a very big part of what we do right now when it comes to creating social currency. And even though we in the creative line, we like to own the creative work, we can actually do better work by working with other people. That's all I want to say.
Okay, so we have time for a short Q&A. Does anyone have any questions?
A great campaign. Thanks for sharing that. Movement, sorry. Obviously, many clients would like to have viral campaigns or movements. So is creation of social currency your recipe for that, or what are your thoughts around that?
A campaign needs social currency to become viral, because a lot of what we do for social media these days consists of apps, discounts, freebies, cost per click Facebook ads. There is no emotion involved. But the key thing is, if you go online, why social is such a big thing is people are very passionate about what they believe in. Some are very passionate about their looks. So you have cam warring. People keep on putting new photos on photo updates. You have niche forums that talks about their love for Apple products. So how can you go in to create a viral movement when there's no emotion or social currency around what you're doing? It simply that will not work. The reason why I do not want to do this type of in Singapore or social movement type of campaign in Singapore is because I feel that in terms of being emotional or sentimental, we are years behind the Chinese people in China. The Chinese people is a very sentimental type of people, and that type of, because of their culture, it's easier for us to do such things. But I foresee in the future, the millennials, the people born in 1980s to 1995, who should be your key target audience for all your social media strategy. They are by far the most emotional middle class this world has ever seen. And creating emotional touch points between the brand and with them is going to be a key part to making your campaign go viral.
Great. So
Thank you for that presentation. I actually wanted to ask, following that campaign, did Dove follow it up with another campaign that was similar, or has it inspired them to kind of challenge a different media?
Which campaign?
The carriage guy.
Okay, we only did that one campaign because it's a one-off. But the thing is, we told the client that as far as we're concerned, we only help the brand become a fairy godmother. This was something initiated by him. We saw an opportunity to work with him, and that's it. The thing is, like, we don't want to really dampen the value of the love and sentiment that he had for his girlfriend by turning it into something too overly commercial. During that particular campaign period, we never asked him to talk about price. We never asked him to buy about product. All he did was showcase, I need heart-shaped containers. That's all we asked from him. And I want to remind you all of one. There's a bit of a risk when it comes to creating such social movements, is that it can backfire. In 2007, Prudential did one of a very good social media campaign on Facebook. It's about this young guy who professed his love for a woman 20 years older than him. So people started spreading his love poems, photos about her, and a lot of us was hooked to this love story on Facebook. So we were cheering him on by sharing the content. And when he finally got together with the lady, because they showed a profile picture of him with the older woman, all of us was very happy. Until Prudential came in with a product message. Thank you for following this story. We want to use this occasion to tell you that in life, anything can happen. So he plans to think ahead. The moment they did this, the online netizens turned against Prudential. That's why it is very, very tough to do social movements in China, in Singapore, because of such concerns from the client. But what we wanted to do with this particular love carriage was we wanted to make his expression of love a success, and we wanted to keep it that way. Whether or not it sells product was something I never promised the client. It's just a happy coincidence that sales went up because of it.
Do you want to shout it out or do you want to mic?
Yeah, I can shout it out. Sorry, I just wanted to know how do you identify these key influencers? Do you know that he had a huge following? I mean,
He didn't have a huge following. He only had about 300 people on his Weibo page. Basically, the key thing about doing social in China is you have to do social media listening. Because clients don't buy ideas in China. They buy a strong insight that drives a strategy, and the idea is more of a creative expression of this insight strategy. So at the time to find the insight, I have to do some listening. I knew there will be a lot of people talking about what they want to do for Chinese Valentine's Day. My job was to find the most interesting examples. So I came up with a few dozen. I quickly, through social media listening, I identified quite a few people, guys, who said all this. Pass it to my interns, tell them within 3 days, please go through, skim through all their Weibo pages and let me know which 10 guys they feel will actually do what they just promised on Weibo. And he was one of them that they picked. So when you do social media, please, listening is really the first thing you need to do.
Anyone else?
I was just curious, do you feel that sometimes part of it could be that, because in China they've obviously had, you know, they've been under the communist regime for a while, they're like a population of 1 billion people. Do you kind of think that, you know, online's given a kind of freedom that most Chinese like maybe don't feel that they can express in real life? Do you feel that makes social currency a little bit easier than here? Where maybe some people, I guess the difference is you could say that people get handed stuff more on a platter here, whereas there people really fight to survive and fight to stand out from like a faceless crowd. And that's what internet is for them.
Okay, the key thing is China has a lot of restrictions where the internet is concerned. If you notice, from in the last few months, most Singaporeans, we cannot even access videos on Youku or Tuto. This is their way of getting around copyright violation, because if you can't see, you can't sue. And the firewall has been massively upgraded. Most of us who use Gmail in China, it's getting very tough to access the email. Baidu has blocked off all traffic coming from Google. So it's becoming quite tough. But the key thing is that anything that's emotional will spread very, very fast. As long as it spreads fast, it's very tough for the Chinese government to control. This is something Han Han, China's most famous blogger, actually discovered. He's always been critical about the government, but they could never catch his post in time because he's fairly creative. Like, they censor based on words. He wrote what he wanted to say about the government on a piece of paper, scan it, and share it as a JPEG. And by the time the Chinese government caught on, like a few million people has already read it.
Anyone else?
2013's idea of social movement, and do you see Google Glass as a potential?
Okay, that's two questions. First thing is Google Plus always has potential, but it's unrealized potential. Google Plus right now is actually more popular with techies. People, technology, we share a lot of news. A lot of brands don't really know what to do with it, but seriously, if I have very good content, especially video content, creating and managing a Google Plus page is very, very important, because video that appears on the right side, where the Google Plus results sometimes show, will actually catch a lot of attention. Okay, that's one question. This year, I'm not focusing on social movement. I've done social movement successfully in Singapore, Southeast Asia, and even in China for the last 4 or 5 years. My focus this year is on social commerce movement. What is a social commerce movement? One good example is Taobao. Taobao sold 1 billion worth of products in one night during this thing called Singles Holiday, November the 11th, 1111. This was something that the university guys, they came out to make fun of their friends who don't have a girlfriend. So Taobao cleverly whipped up attention on singles holiday. If you're alone, unloved, don't worry, we still love you. You can shop on Taobao from this time to this time at the night of November the 11th for all sorts of crazy promotions available only for singles. So this is something Taobao, a social commerce platform, created.